The Houston Rockets did not win the sweepstakes for Cade Cunningham, unfortunately, but they still end up in a very good position with the number 2 overall pick. They keep their pick, which is the biggest thing for them, as if they fell back much further, they would not have retained that pick. But in today's video, we are going to be talking about what they can do with that number 2 overall pick, as well as what they can potentially do with the number 23 and 24 overall pick in this year's first round as well, which they also own. Some of the current future assets on this team that can be helpful as they continue on this rebuild, as well as some of the veterans that are currently on the roster and what they can potentially do with them via trade, if at all, to acquire more assets to add to this team. If you guys do enjoy this type of NBA content, then be sure to like the video. If you do enjoy, let me know you enjoyed this type of content. And subscribe if you want more NBA preview videos of the offseason like this for more teams and all of the updates as we head into this year's draft and offseason. And so let's talk about this number 2 overall pick. Of course, Cade Cunningham is very likely, if not a lock, to go first overall to the Detroit Pistons. That is pretty much a given. But the Houston Rockets have the first choice of the best of the rest, which is going to be most likely a choice between Jalen Suggs, Jalen Green, and Evan Mobley. Now here's my thoughts. The Houston Rockets team has seemed very unwilling to play Christian Wood anywhere but center. They didn't want Jarrett Allen in the James Harden trade and flipped him back to Cleveland because of this reason, reportedly, at least, because they wanted Christian Wood to be the small ball center. That's what they believed in. That's what they wanted. Not that Christian Wood is small, but he was a power forward before he played in Houston. He is a bit of a tweener between positions, similar to a John Collins type, but I think he does fit the center position better than John Collins does. But he's in that type of mold. And so at 6'10", he can play the center, but he also could be moved over. But because of that hesitancy for them to move them over, I am a little bit hesitant to the fact that they're going to take Evan Mobley. And I feel like they might take someone like Jalen Green or Jalen Suggs more so. At this point, it just really depends on if they're going highest value or if they're going best fit for the team. Because they have Kevin Porter, who played very well last year, who's locked into the 2. In which case, they are more likely to take Jalen Suggs, more of a point guard, a creator, someone who can be your ball handler. But if you want another bucket getter and more of a 2 guard, then Jalen Green's going to be that guy. But I have hesitancies about them taking Evan Mobley, even though many people would project him to go number 2 or number 3, and not any later than that. They seem reluctant to move Christian Wood out of that starting 5 spot. So I wouldn't be surprised if Evan Mobley falls past number 2 and they end up selecting one of the Jalen's. Moving on to what they currently have on the roster. This Rockets team is still very much in transition. It's not an overly young team yet as far as who is still on the roster. You have the likes of John Wall, Eric Gordon, Kelly Olynyk, Avery Bradley, who are all at or over the age of 30, who are on this team at the end of the year. But Kelly Olynyk is an expiring contract. Avery Bradley is a team option, which is likely to not be picked up, I would assume. DJ Augustine, however, is still under contract for 2 more years. Eric Gordon is guaranteed money for another 2 years, and John Wall has another 1 and a player option, which he will most likely opt into. So with that being said, this offseason is very crucial for Houston. They need to start adding some young pieces, some young talent to start adding to this group that they already have. Of course, the main piece right now is Christian Wood. And he's obviously going to be the main guy moving forward until they add a more prominent piece. He had an absolutely brilliant season last year. It was a very, I don't know if gutsy signing is the right call to make, but obviously he showed very large flashes with Detroit at the end of the year previously. And there was a bit of a skepticism regarding what his value would be, but he absolutely performed in Houston. He was every bit worth his deal, and in fact is very much underpaid now. He averaged 21 points a game. Very good on the glass, averaging near 10. He can finish inside well. He has a bit of a 3-point shot as well. He can space the floor. He can finish inside. He can rebound for you. He's not the most insane defensive center, but he's not a complete liability either. So you have to like what they have there in Christian Wood. Kevin Porter Jr. they acquired from Cleveland for like a 2nd-round pick. And I mean, Kevin Porter Jr., I forget what the stat line was, but wasn't it a 50-something and something insane triple-double? I don't remember the stat line, but needless to say, this kid is young. He's very good. He's going to develop into a very good talent and is one of the main pieces moving forward for this team. 2 of the other pieces that I want to mention moving forward that I think are going to be important for the Houston Rockets and at least probably mainstays in the rotation for a while for Houston is firstly Deshaun Tate, a member of the All-NBA rookie second team this year, I believe. And he looks good. His three-point shot definitely needs to work, which is something that in today's league you kind of want out of your wing players. But he is a very hard-working, aggressive player. A lot of hustle, looking for loose balls, playing hard on defense, being very tenacious, looking for steals on the defensive end. He's definitely not shy to drive to the basket and draw contact and get inside. I like his game. It's a very hard-nosed, hard-working game. He is old relative for a rookie. He is nearly 26 when this season will begin. But I think there's still some room for him to improve in his next couple of years in the league and can definitely be a good wing defender and slasher for this team. And then Kenyon Martin, who was a 52nd overall pick, looked promising, especially later on in the year for Houston, averaging a bit over 9 points a game. He has a bit of a three-point shot. He can space the floor for you a bit. I think he definitely has some potential on the wing for this team moving forward as well. But that's just my point about lack of depth, the lack of quantity in their youth. Those are really the only four players that I can make noteworthy discussions about for having a future on this team. And they're a rebuilding team. So here's the plan moving forward for the Houston Rockets. Obviously, they take someone very talented at the number 2 overall pick, whether that is one of the Jalen's or Evan Mobley, and that automatically becomes one of, if not their best, future talent on the roster. They then have to figure out what they want to do with DJ Augustine, Eric Gordon, and John Wall, most notably. John Wall might be here on the roster until his contract dies. His contract might be here just to die because his contract might purely be untradeable. It just might be. And so he might be here for the long haul, and hopefully they can just, if he can play extremely well and stay healthy and up his value to a point where they can trade him, great. If not, he might just be here to die. But Eric Gordon, I think, would definitely get a trade. He would have been traded at the deadline, in my opinion, last year if he didn't pick up that injury before the deadline, which ultimately led to him being not traded. But I would suspect that he probably gets dealt at some point in time this year, before or near the deadline, to get some value of assets for Houston, even if it's a couple of second-round picks or a late first or whatever it may be. It's something that Houston can put towards gaining assets and acquiring more and more assets to try and improve their roster. DJ Augustine is another one, 33-year-old point guard. He really didn't look good last year at all, which is why Milwaukee really didn't have a problem trading him. It was really just a cap filler in the trade for PJ Tucker. But hopefully he can play up his value in Houston next year as well, and they can try and flip him for some level of assets to some contender. So that's kind of the trade front for Houston this summer as far as players go. But they also have, as we noted at the start of the video, the 23rd and 24th overall picks. They have a combination of late first-round picks, and so they could do one of two things with these picks. They could just take a player at 23 and at 24. As I mentioned, they do need more young talent, and so adding volume in their young players and their young talent is not necessarily a bad thing right now. But they also could package those picks together and try and move up a bit into the draft, try and get closer to or into the lottery with the second pick if they don't really like what they see at 23 and 24. And so they have options with those two picks. They could try to definitely add some different levels of talent. But at a bare minimum, they should be adding 2 to 3 young players onto the team this year, which is very much needed. It's very crucial. They'll have another year of development into Christian Wood. They're going to have another year in on Kevin Porter, Deshaun Tate, Kenyon Martin, with those former 2 being now second-year pros. Hopefully they can see a nice jump in their development. You're likely to see the likes of Kelly Olynyk, Exum, DJ Wilson, and Waba Sterling Brown, who are all free agents, leave the team this summer. Maybe Dante Exum and DJ Wilson, who are a bit younger, stay around. Maybe Sterling Brown stays around for depth. But that just really depends on who they want to fill out their bench on. They might just try and look for some add the players that are the youngest that they feel have the most potential upside. At least if that's what if I'm Houston, that's what I'm doing. You just need to look for potential upside on players right now and try and capitalize and use your player development to get the best as they can. But this is going to be a rebuild that's going to take a bit. They don't have an absolute boatload of picks. Now, again, they have 3 first-round picks this year, but they don't have an insane amount. They don't already have a ton of talents on the team. Christian Wood, I'd say, is the only near top-level talent. Someone you'd say is like a lock to be a starter and be a really impactful part of a winning team. Now, that's not a knock on Kevin Porter. That's not a knock on Deshaun Tate or Kenyon Martin. Kevin Porter, I need to see a bit more out of to define him as that, but I think we can definitely get there. Deshaun Tate and Kenyon Martin are decent. They might be rotational pieces, but they're not, like, as of right now, I don't see either of them as, wow, this is going to be a really good starter for us on a contending level team. Those players aren't that. They could be valuable bench players, but they're not there yet. And so this offseason is very big for Houston, as will be the next multiple as they continue to acquire young talent. But that is my thoughts on the Houston Rockets. Let me know down below what you think about the Houston Rockets' current roster scenario. And just genuinely and generally speaking, what you think they should do this offseason is what is going to be one of the most important Houston Rocket offseasons in recent memory for the continued rebuilding of this team. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have a great rest of your day. Feel free to like and subscribe if you did enjoy and want more NBA content like this. And feel free to click the Linktree link down in the description for all of my socials if you want to join me anywhere else. I will see you guys in the next one.